Good afternoon. I hope everybody is well today and enjoying the warm weather outside. If you're a warm weather person, this is great. Yesterday I was at Barnes & Noble and I found this book, Dear Pope Francis. It's a wonderful book of letters that children have written to Pope Francis and then his answers to those letters. So I thought for Kids Day, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we would read through some of these letters. The kids ask fascinating questions and they're from all over the world. So it's just a wonderful book. So at the beginning, he says, "To the children of the world, thank you for sending me your letters. It brings me joy to read them all." So we'll just do 2 or 3 for today. So this first letter is from João, who is 10 years old and from Portugal. And he writes, "Dear Pope Francis, when I saw you at St. Peter's Square, I felt great joy when you looked at me. What do you feel when you look at the children around you? Thank you for your attention." And then take a real good look at the picture that João painted and notice that the Pope is driving the car. You'll need to know that to understand his answer. Dear João, you asked me what I feel when I look at children. I do see many children. I smile at them and hug them and throw kisses from the car because my hands are free, even though you drew me with my hands on the wheel. I'm happy when I see children. I always feel great tenderness and affection for them. But it's more than that. Actually, when I look at a child like you, I feel great hope rising in my heart. Because for me, seeing a child is seeing the future. Yes, I feel great hope because every child is our hope for the future of humanity. And I would wholeheartedly agree with the Pope on that one. The next letter comes from Natasha, who is 8 years old, and she's from Kenya. And there's the painting, the picture that she drew. And her question is, I would like to know more about Jesus Christ. How did he walk on water? A question that not only kids, but adults also ask. And Francis writes, Dear Natasha, you have to imagine Jesus walking naturally, normally. He did not fly over the water or turn somersaults while swimming. He walked as you walk. He walked 1 foot after the other as if the water were land. He walked on the water's surface as he saw the fish under his feet frolicking or racing around. Jesus is God, and so he can do anything. He can walk safely on water. God cannot sink, you know. It reminds me of Matt's message from Sunday in the service about that picture he has of Jesus walking on the water, Peter probably sinking in the water because we're the ones who sink, and then Jesus is the one who reaches down and pulls us up, and it is our faith in him that pulls us up in these days. So one more letter for today. This one comes from Emil, who is 9 years old, and he's from the Dominican Republic. And he drew a picture of the Pope. And his letter says, Dear Pope Francis, our deceased relatives, can they see us from heaven? Dear Emile, yes, you can be sure of this. I imagine that you're thinking about your relatives who are in heaven. You don't see them, but if and when God allows it, they can see you, at least in certain moments of your life. They are not far from us, you know. They pray for us, and they lovingly take care of us. This is the important thing. You can imagine your deceased relatives this way. They are smiling down on you from heaven. The way you have drawn them, they are flying around me, but they are flying next to you. They are accompanying you with their love. I don't know if you saw that in the picture, but they're there with him. And I certainly believe that that's true. Death cannot separate us from the love that, say, a grandparent or a dear friend had for us. We will always have that love, and death cannot separate us from God's love either. Let's do one more. This one is from Ryan, and he is age 8, and he's from Canada. And there's Ryan and his picture. And Ryan asks, Dear Pope Francis, it's an honor to ask you my question. My question is, what did God do before the world was made? Good question. Dear Ryan, there is beauty in creation, and there are the limitless and eternal tenderness and mercy of God. God began making something when he created the world. But if I told you that God was doing nothing before he created the world, I would be wrong. In fact, God also created time, that is, the before and the after. But I don't want to confuse you with these words. Think of it this way. Before creating anything, God loved. That's what God was doing. God was loving. God always loves. God is love. So when God began making the world, he was simply expressing his love. Before doing anything else, God was love, and God was loving. And it's out of that love that God created the world, and that God sent his Son, and that God sent his Spirit to be with us even today. Blessings to you. Stay well.